Welcome to Collectibles Market Analytics. I'm a ex-Wall Street guy. Spent almost 2 decades on Wall Street, focused mostly in investment banking, did some equity research as well. And, just maybe like some of you guys, I was cleaning out the basement of my mom's house and came across all my old baseball cards, football cards, basketball cards, and yeah, just wanted to see what they were worth. Got curious about it, and then started getting back into the hobby. But coming at it from a different angle, from sort of an analytical Wall Street type angle, I just started noticing some interesting things and wanted to share those with you, and created this channel to do that. So this is collectible market analytics, and hopefully we're going to put out a bunch of videos, at least a couple every week, to give you an update on what I see in terms of some of the data. So today's topic is the junk wax era back? And I'll give you the punchline here. It's worse than you realize. So let's get into it. Let's get into some of the data here. So first, looking at baseball cards, obviously the biggest thing going on in the junk wax era was baseball cards. You look at 1989, that's sort of the peak of when you had a lot of junk wax out there. And, if you sort of look at PSA graded cards as a metric for, sort of how much production was out there, you can kind of see you're almost at 620,000 cards graded by PSA that are circa 1989. Obviously, big year, Ken Griffey rookie, Ken Griffey Jr. rookie year. And so, but you notice after that, you can kind of see this yellow line, which represents the cards graded. You can kind of see that the cards pulled back, the graded cards pulled back, and you can see that probably followed, production. And then all of a sudden, you scoot over here to 2018, and you realize that the numbers are actually worse than they were back in 1989. Almost 650,000 cards graded that are circa 2018. Ronald Acuna, and some of the other key players we'll talk about in a few minutes. But really, you can kind of see that that's not good. Lots and lots of production. If it wasn't for the grading slowdown and shutdown in 2021, you probably would have seen a lot more graded cards, 2019 cards, 2020 cards graded. So, that's a problem, right? But it's not as bad as what I'll show you in a minute, which is going to freak you out. So let's analyze 89, right? So if you look at 89, you've got Upper Deck, Topps traded, Fleer, Dunross, Score traded. You got a whole bunch of different sets out there, and a little over 200 different sets. And, and as you can see, basically between Upper Deck, Topps traded, Fleer, and Dunross, you're looking at about, almost 63% of all the cards graded. And that seems like the way it was, back then. Again, as we mentioned earlier, 1989 was very big for Ken Griffey Jr. You can kind of see here a price chart of PSA 10s back from 2008 to today. And recent trades, of this card are about $2,500 a card. But you're talking about Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, first ballot Hall of Famer, a hitter, a home run hitter, a hitter for average, and so what's amazing is that there's almost 80,000 cards, Ken Griffey Jr. cards that have been graded, represents 52% of the total cards graded for that year, which is insane. For that set specifically for that year. So that's totally insane. And you can kind of see how it sort of traded in a band from 08 to 2020 to the beginning of 2020, and then started creeping up, then again traded in a band throughout 2020, and then had some crazy price spikes at the beginning of 21, is coming back down to earth, and will probably settle in this range as well. But again, shockingly, this is the biggest number you'll find, at least that I found, of any card ever. And yet it's still holding up at $2,500 a card. Amazing. So if you look at the second biggest card of that year, it's the Randy Johnson card. And again, first ballot Hall of Famer. Here you've got almost 30,000 cards, again, 20%, representing 20% of the set. And that, that card recently sold at around $180. That price has been, with some spikes here and there, it's been pretty stable through 2021. Back in 2020, it was a little bit lower. And then obviously from 2012 all the way to 2020, it traded in a range, less than $100. So again, a lot of cards during the junk wax era. Obviously, other than Ken Griffey Jr., the price, even for a lot of cards is less than $200. Okay. Now let's look at 2018 baseball. Okay. Now all of a sudden you've got a whole bunch of different sets within Topps. So you got Topps Update, Topps Living, Chrome Update, Chrome, Heritage, and there's tons of others. So now you're talking about something like 900 sets, which is crazy. And if you look at the top four, here the top four, what is that, 25 and 16, 31%. So literally half, the top four here represent only half of the same number of cards that were graded last in the previous 1989 set. So let's look at the key cards. Ronald Acuna Jr. Again, 27,500 cards represents 27% of the set in terms of graded cards. Trading at around $196. You see a ton of spikes, all these different spikes, which is a lot of volatility in the price. Again, if you go back to Randy Johnson, again, 29,000. So about the same population across the graded spectrum of cards. But again, Randy Johnson, first ballot Hall of Famer, $180 price. Ronald Acuna, been playing ball for 5 minutes, and his price is just slightly above Randy Johnson. Now he's a hitter. I get it. People like to collect hitters more than they like pitchers. I understand. But still, that's just really impressive pricing, already taking into account Ronald Acuna being a first ballot Hall of Famer. If you look at, again, look at another player, look at Juan Soto, similar kind of thing, about 25,000 cards graded, about 25% of the set. His price is even a little bit higher. It's about $208. Again, lots of spikes. And again, giving him credit for being a first ballot Hall of Famer, similar to, Randy Johnson. So, it's getting a little rich, these prices, I think, especially given the population counts, given where we were earlier in the 1989 peak of the junk wax era. So, that's pretty bad. But now it gets even worse. So then I decided to look at basketball because, to me, basketball, I think, has become very popular more recently, and I was curious to see the numbers. So actually, it's 50% worse than the junk wax era. So if you look at the chart again, yellow represents total graded cards. In 1986, obviously Michael Jordan's rookie year, you're talking about 300,000 cards graded. That's still half of the junk wax era kind of number, which you'd expect because basketball back then was a little less popular than baseball. And the number stayed relatively flat all the way through till recently. Then you get to 2018, 2019. 2019 literally just blows me away. You have almost 1 million cards graded in 2019. I mean, I don't even want to imagine what kind of production that really means that Panini's putting out, because it's all Panini. But it's just insane. I mean, 50% more than junk wax in terms of total graded cards. Again, the grading shutdown, I think, helped sort of prevent the steamroller effect that would be happening here. But you see the drop off in 2020. But I would imagine there's a huge backlog, and that number that's right now sitting at sort of actually, I can't even tell what that number is, but whatever that number is, it wouldn't surprise me if it shot up to the 600,000-800,000, and maybe even 1 million range, which is insane. So now breaking this down, and by the way, the blue bars are sets, the number of sets that are available. So here is 600 sets of different cards. So all the different variations, types, all the different things. So, and I just mean specifically Prizm, Mosaic, that kind of stuff. So now let's break that down like we did the others, okay? In 2019, of all the PSA graded cards, 35% of those cards, of the almost 1 million cards, 35% of them are just Prizms. Just take that into your mind for a second, all right? Literally 350,000 cards have been graded that are Panini Prizm basketball cards in 2019. That represents, a little more than half of all the production during the junk wax era, okay? If you look at the number of cards in the set of the Prizm set, there's 5,300 cards in the set. including 41 variations of each card, which again is just blows my mind. It makes no sense at all. Mosaic's about 15%. Optic, Donruss Optic is 10%. Draft Picks is 5, Selects 5, Hoops is 4, and so on and so forth. And so when you're talking about, let's say in this year, a Zion rookie, Zion Williamson rookie, you don't, it's just really a lot of work to try to figure out what's going to be the valuable card, right? Is it the Prizm base? Is it the silver? Is it this? Is it that? Is it some other variation? Is it mosaic? Is it, oh, well, Hoops only has 4% production, so maybe it's the Hoops card. Well, traditionally, Hoops has been a low-end product, so even though there's less lower population counts, it seems to be that the prices are much lower in Hoops as well. So, obviously it's not a direct correlation between price, production or population count of a card and the actual, value of the card. So, because, Prizm is a very nice looking card, shiny, it's great. So that's just insane. Okay. Now let's look at some of the prices. So here, obviously, there's not much of a trading history for these cards like we have for the other ones. But if you look here, there's 31,000, almost 32,000 cards of Zion that are available in just this this base Prizm. All right, no variations, just the base Prizm. Almost 32,000. Again, that's more than Randy Johnson's cards, more than Acuna, more than Juan Soto, and represents 10% of the whole set. And you can see the prices are still very, very robust. I mean, for a Gem Mint 10, recent prices are $550. Even nines are trading at 176. Even some of the lower graded cards are over $100. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's just bonkers. Look at the next one as well. Ja, right? The other big star of the 2019 set. Over 28,000 cards, 9% of the set. 28,000 graded cards, again, 10 PSA 10, almost $300. And then everything else is sort of at least somewhat reasonable, but still, $60, $100, $80. So really just nuts in terms of what's going on. So I just can't see how, with such massive amounts of production and such confusion in the market as to which, rookie is the right rookie to hold in terms of this asset, I don't really see how this is sustainable. I just don't see how prices are sustainable. It just does not make sense to me. Okay, so just key takeaways. Really, there's nearly 650,000 cards that have been graded by PSA circa 2018 from that season of baseball cards, versus 620,000 in 1989, which was the previous peak, as you saw in those charts earlier. Basketball, like we said, 50% worse. We're nearly at 1 million cards graded for circa 2019 versus the previous high year, which was circa 1986. Over 40 card variations, like we said earlier, just making it very confusing. If a new person wants to get in the hobby and they see a Zion rookie, which Zion rookie is it? Which of his cards are the first card? Which one do I want to collect? Just very, very confusing, and it's hard to know what the right card is to get. The grading slowdown, may have delayed this bubble for a while, but those cards are going to come online soon. And when they do, again, it wouldn't surprise me to see the numbers get close to the 2019 numbers for 2020. And then finally, just my expectation is that, modern era basketball and maybe even baseball are cooked. We're in the junk wax era. The cards are nicer, they're prettier, it's great. Maybe a lot more people are interested in grading cards now, and the collectors are the ones that are breaking, there's a lot more breaks these days, there's a lot more cards that are sort of in circulation, if you want to call it that, because when I was a kid, we would just flip the cards, we would match the colors, and you'd sort of, that would be your game. And so those cards weren't being put away to be graded. Nowadays, I don't know anybody that plays with cards. I think they all get them to put them away to be graded. So maybe that's what's going on. Maybe that's the shift. And that's why you see a lot more cards graded now than in the day, in the old days. But that just also tells me that the cards from, the sort of pre-modern era are probably, much more valuable, apples to apples. So I think that's just my takeaway. Like I said, I'll try to keep producing more content for you guys that takes deep dives into the analytics of the collectibles. And please leave comments below Subscribe, sub, this is all new to me. So, follow us, subscribe, like the video, put the notification icon, all that other good stuff. All right. Thank you.